Hello and welcome to this special episode of Overdrive. We're celebrating a milestone this week. It's our 100th episode, and so Shireen told us to go fishing for a big idea.
Fish, said Shireen. Go fish for a big story. So we are here fishing. But now this being Overdrive, you didn't expect us to walk here, did you? We've got two reasonably expensive SUVs. Actually, what am I saying? We've got two very expensive SUVs, and we are here in a fantastic place. Take a look at what's coming up in the next half hour. I don't know what, but it doesn't feel like it has more power. But
And we're here to spend some time interacting with nature. Oh, sorry, cut.
Now, as always, our road trips start in Pune, and we've driven down south to the coffee plantations of Coorg, 1,000 kilometers over a whole variety of Indian roads, and the perfect opportunity to gauge two of the best luxury off-roaders in the business, if off-roading is a priority. The Land Cruiser Prado and the V8 Land Cruiser. Things really don't get any better than this.
And unlike our usual road trips, when the only luxury we'll see is the insides of the car, this time around, since it's our 100th episode, we're pampering ourselves a little bit. And so we'll start at the uber luxurious Orange County resorts in Coorg.
Called Kodaimalai Nadu or dense forest on steep hill in Kannada, Coorg is often referred to as the Scotland of India. Famous for its coffee plantations, abundant wildlife and great weather through the year. It's a 235-kilometer drive from Bengaluru, but a really long drive from where we started. So our weary crew were quite relieved to be checking into the fabulous lakeside villas at Orange County, and then we took a closer look at the Land Cruiser. If you were stuck in the Amazon jungle and needed something to get you out before the cannibals attack, this Land Cruiser would be it. Sold in some markets with the Amazon moniker, it has a deserving reputation for being the toughest off-roader in the world. No wonder the United Nations has bought more than 12,000 over the years and taken them into battle zones around the world. It's one of the most recognizable silhouettes around and sports traditional, safe Toyota styling. The headlamps are probably the biggest in the world, and viewed from any angle, it's impossible to hide its visual mass and bulk.
Now, this being the most expensive Toyota you can buy in the country today, it is loaded with equipment. You have what you want and more. But the thing is, it lacks that certain quality feel, that premium touches that those German luxury SUVs do extremely well. For instance, these plastics, they don't feel plush, they don't feel rich. And they'll hate me for saying this, but ergonomics are an absolute disaster. There's this whole forest of buttons. Everywhere you look, there are 10 buttons doing 10 different things. Now, it takes so long to figure this out that it's not funny.
Eager to test our SUVs out in their favorite conditions, we hit Orange County's estate trails which border the jungles and settled down for some easy-paced mile munching. And that allowed me to take a closer look at the Prado's cabin.
This interior feels a lot more logically laid out than the Land Cruiser, especially the dashboard. But for a 50 lakh SUV, well, it just doesn't quite feel premium enough. Or maybe we've just been spoiled by Audis.
Sirish, on the other hand, was getting excited about all the power lurking under the Land Cruiser's massive black hood.
So for 30 lakhs over the Prado, what do you get? Well, you get a big fat V8, 4.5 liters, 285 PS of power. But most importantly, 650 Newton meters of torque. That's a hell of a lot of torque. You could tie Great Britain to the back of this car and tow it right across the Atlantic.
Prado runs a 3-litre direct injection turbo diesel engine we first saw in India on the Fortuner. But here it makes more torque, and it has to because this SUV is just so much bigger and heavier. It also has an automatic gearbox which tends to sap a bit more power, so performance in the end is pretty similar to what we've seen before on the Fortuner.
As we drove along, we spotted a perfect hidden fishing hole. Nestled in an alcove off the main track, on the banks of a running stream that seemed stocked with masair, the Valanur fishing camp was an ideal place to test our survival skills. Sirish then set out to catch us some lunch, while the locals put the Land Cruiser to good use as a diving platform. But try as he might, our frankly inadequate equipment was making Sirish's task pretty difficult.
Madhi. And where is that Mashir?
As the sun beat down and the mercury soared, the Land Cruiser provided us with shelter and a few talking points.
Wow. Sirish, I finally seem to have got the hang of this whole casting thing. But on a serious note, fishing, that is the best you could come up with for our 100th episode?
Sandeep, on a serious note, I think you haven't got the hang of any casting or anything. Huh? If you're going to be waiting for lunch, for fish, I don't think we're going to have any today. But okay, on a serious note, well, we had 2 Land Cruisers parked in the office. Now, what do you do with Land Cruisers? You don't commute to work in a Land Cruiser. Now, do we really have an office?
We do have an office, but none of you guys seem to spend enough time in the office because you're always traveling all over the world.
So that's the good thing. With Land Cruisers, what do? You go land cruising. And that's what we've come to do. We've come to the wild outdoors for you to catch some fish.
Do you think, Sirish, the Prado, it's smaller, yes, but will that make it any less of an off-roader? It seems to have all the required mechanical bits though.
Well, I think that thing is a damn good off-roader. This thing, as an off-roader, it's fantastic. You go to Dubai, those Wadi Bashin guys, the Arabs, they all swear by this car. And that's because this thing is fantastic. But for our conditions, which are, our tracks are much smaller, our jungle trails are much smaller, that thing is better because it's smaller, it's easier to place. And with these big boulders and all that, you get really scared with this thing. This doesn't fit on most tracks. So I think for India, for off-roading, that makes more sense. But really, 50 lakh rupee car, do Indians really off-road in them?
Okay, so we're going to go out and test what Sirish is just saying. We're going to see just how easy these things are to drive on our off-road trails. But first, of course, I'm going to give Sirish a chance to try and catch us some lunch.
Listen, Sandeep, if you are bad, I'll be really bad. So I think let's just go have lunch and then let's hit the road.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break and go have lunch and come back and do some real off-roading. See you on the other side.